Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are back with some more Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links meta discussion. And on today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the meta that has kind of solidified a little bit more after the new ban list and the new box has come out. And so, yeah, here we go. This is it. As you can see, we've got a lot of decks here. A lot more than in previous metas, and I did kind of want to talk about this because I've had a few people wondering about Dark Lords and how they kind of fit into the meta and how to deal with that, right? So I also want to talk about specifically what you can expect with this tier list in the ladder, right? Going up to King of Games and stuff like that, and kind of what to expect from this tier list versus what you'll see on the ladder. So obviously this is meant for the competitive tournaments, right? And to be really like the top competitive viable decks and stuff like that, right? Going up with, decks built perfectly with the best cards, with the best back row and disruption and everything like that, piloted by the best players as well. So, obviously, you're not going to see all of that within these decks, but real quick, let's talk about all of the decks, starting with Thunder Dragons. So, Thunder Dragons, pretty simple. What you're going to be doing is it's kind of focused around synchro summoning and trying to get out your Dragon Duo, but there are some other options that you have with this. Now we're running baggy sleeves in the in place of as your skill, you're running baggy sleeves. Why? Because when a level 5 or higher monster is destroyed, the next turn you are able to grab up 2 cards, which is really useful since you are running a 30 card deck, right? Now, why are we running a 30-card deck? Because it just suits the deck. It allows you to have more options and more cards just in general in order to go into more boss monsters, basically. So, Dragonhawk, Dragon Dark, Dragon Roar, up to your discretion. Obviously, 3 Dragonhawk, 3 Dragon Roar, and 3 Dragon Dark is all really good. You could run the 2 like it has here. Then we're going to talk about the tuners, which are Plague Spreader Zombie and Glow Up Bulb, which Plague Spreader, you return a card from your hand to the top of the deck to summon it, right? And then Glow Up Bulb, you mill a card to summon it, right? Both really good at, if it does end up in the graveyard, really good at just being able to bring itself back, right? Then we have the Thunder Dragon Duo, which is your main boss monster, which you're just going to be able to special summon by banishing a light and a dark, which is pretty easy, seeing as how Dragonhawk is light, whereas Dragon Dark and Dragon Roar are dark. And then we also have Artifact Vajra and the Dragon Matrix and Amaterasu as lights as well. And then you've got Plague Spreader Zombie, Sphere Karibo, and your Aloof Lupine as well as for the darks, right? So there are many options for light and dark. Most of your deck is light and dark monsters, right? So very easy to get this card out. And then you have the boost with your Dragon Matrix to get over things like Cocytus and other such things that are at about 3,000, like Morningstar or Desire or, what have you. Anything like that, right? So, pretty good to get that boost going as well. Aloof Lupine, just to help facilitate the strategy of, like, okay, we're going to banish cards and we're going to activate their effects and just kind of search your deck to more easily facilitate your Dragon Duo and get more cards into your hand, right? Now, we have this new card, Amaterasu, which can only be set, right? So you set this card by tributing 2 monsters, and then when it is flipped face up, what it will do is it will banish all of the cards, right? If this card is flip face up, banish all of the cards on the field. Pretty nutty, right? And then once per turn during the end phase, if this card was flip face up this turn, return it to the hand. There you go. Pretty good. Really good in this deck because you can special summon a lot of things and then you mostly focus on your special summon. You're not really focusing on your normal summon. So that's why it's very good in this deck. Banishing all cards is like a Black Rose Dragon, except worse, right? Because it banishes everything. So, with that being said, they also run the Black Rose Dragon to wipe the field. Brionac, Dark End Dragon, Zeta, Samurai Destroyer, and Scrap Dragon are all things just to kind of help get through anything that might be pesky. Return it to the hand, banish it from the field, reduce its attack and defense, reduce its attack and defense, send it to the graveyard by reducing this one's attack and defense. I always forgot what that one did. And then Scrap Dragon as well, just to pop 2 cards, right? So there you go, there's Thunder Dragons. The next deck we have is our Shiranui deck, right? Shiranui, still a really good deck. It did kind of drop in power since you can no longer use any limited to 2 cards. So now we're just running a 20 card deck with, the 2 Spectral Swords. Most of the time you're only running 2 anyway. Triple Squire. You can run Triple Spirit Master. Only 2 Solitaire most of the time. And then additionally you can have Sphere Karibo. And then as a tech option you can also add in Dragon's Mirror. Dragon's Mirror, you fusion summon a dragon monster, a dragon type fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard. Well, that targets this thing, the Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon, which is 2 zombie type monsters for a dragon fusion. So what you do is you just banish these 2, and then you can activate their effects, and then you also get this guy, which is insanely powerful as well, right? Then you have all of these insanely strong synchros. You have Squire Saga, Samurai Saga, Shogun Saga, Sun Saga, and then you also have the Archfiend Archfiend Zombie Skull, which is insanely good too, because zombie type monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Really good. And then just any sort of back row. You can also run Gold Sark to just make the deck a little bit more consistent by banishing things like your Spirit Master or your Squire or Solitaire or something like that. And then this could be anything, but Fiendish Chain also there. That's kind of how the deck works. If you don't know how Shiranui works, you just Synchro Summon from the deck. You Synchro Summon out these really strong boss monsters, as well as you can Synchro Summon from the graveyard with your Spectral Sword. So, moving on, you should hopefully all know about Shiranui and how that one works. So moving on, we have Lunalight, which is new from the latest box. It is the box set deck. However, as you can see, it is running the Neos Fusion engine. Why is that? Because it's easy to send a lot of these cards to the graveyard. And why do you want to send these cards? Well, they all have graveyard effects, right? So you're going to use your Keeper of Dragon Magic to search up either your Lunalight Fusion or your Neos Fusion, and then you can just go into your OTK options with your Lunalight Cat Dancer, or you can go into your protection with your Lunalight Saber Dancer, right? And then you can also have yourself a Elemental Hero Brave Neos on the field as well. So there you go. It's pretty consistent. It is very good because you can reduce an opponent's attack position monster to 0 attack, and then attack twice into it with your Lunalight Cat Dancer, which at 2400 attack is lethal when you attack into it twice. So pretty freaking good, if you ask me. Then you have your Lunalight White Rabbit, which once per turn you can target a spell or trap card your opponent controls up to the number of other Lunalight cards you control, and then return them to the hand. So that's kind of your back row disruption, right? And then all the rest of these are just combo extenders. And then Sphere Karibo, again, is just kind of protection, protecting your monsters from being destroyed by battle and stuff like that, right? So that's Lunalight. It's pretty simple. It's a very OTK heavy deck. You Luna Light Fusion or you Neos Fusion just to get cards into the graveyard to turn the opponent's monsters to 0 with Crimson Fox and then attack in for lethal. So there you go. Then we have Dark Lord, which if you don't know, I did make a video about Dark Lords. It's up on my channel in this same playlist. But Dark Lords, you should hopefully know what they do. The only thing that changed is we're adding in Synchros with Raiden of the Light, or Raiden Hand of the Lightsworn, and then Lila Lightsworn Sorceress. Now these two, Lila is your only back row disruption, so it kind of did go down in power. So that's kind of why now it is in tier 3 rather than in tier 2 where it was previously for quite some time, right? Not having Eggshell, not being able to run the more consistent Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of that back row is highly detrimental to the deck. So while, yes, adding Synchros is very good, right? Psyframe Lord Zeta is insanely powerful in this deck. It's not the best. It's not the strongest. It's not the most consistent, right? So, still good. Still a very powerful deck, but not great. Now, moving on to our last tier 3 deck, we have Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragons, very consistent, very normal. Double Cyber Dragon, running the triple Cyberload Fusion, triple Cybernetic Overflow with Concentrating Current to just boost up your monsters, kind of protect them as well, and sometimes just swing in for lethal with your Concentrating Current. And then obviously the Cosmic Cyclone, insanely good card. I mean, it was kind of hit with a nerf, but it still kind of needs even more of a nerf. It's that good. But it could fall out of the meta pretty quickly if we start going into a meta where no one's running any back row or anything like that, right? So, and then, yeah, pretty simple. Core, Veer, going into Cyber Twin, and Chimera Tech, Rampage Dragon. So yeah, there's that. This is a pretty standard build for it. Nothing too special. Just the one Cybernetic Fusion support to allow you to go into Cyber Style, which Cyber Style is just... basically this is just to facilitate this, which allows you to go into your fusions. So there we go. Now, with that out of the way, that is all of the tier 3 decks. Now, I didn't talk a lot about the skills, but Shiranui and Dark Lords both are using No Mortal Can Resist, which is basically the replacement for a lot of people, or for a lot of decks that aren't really like skill dependent, right? Things like Cyberstyle or, you know, Crystron or Blue Eyes or anything like that kind of are just running this No Mortal Can Resist because it's very similar to how Sealed Tombs was, where it's just, alright, you got a lot of things in the graveyard, we're going to negate that. However, with Luna Light, if we look at the Luna Lights, they were running Grit. Reason being, if you have Grit, you don't die on the first turn. You can't die and get OTK'd real simply, right? So it allows you to just stay in the game a little bit longer. And, I mean, you can die, but it's a lot more difficult. So, that's basically why it's there. It's basically just to keep you alive, right? And to facilitate more plays. Now, that's not what I wanted. Let's go back. So, now we can hop into the tier 2 decks. So, tier 2, we have Dark Magicians. They were bumped down from the tier 1 status to the tier 3 because of the nerf to Sealed Tombs, as well as just overall the meta kind of shifting to a more graveyard-centric meta, and Dark Magicians couldn't quite control it as much as previously. Still an insanely strong deck, do not get me wrong. If you're seeing it on the ladder, there's a reason. It's still super strong, right? If you don't know what they do, it's pretty simple. Circle and Magician's Rod to search up your navigation and to have a Dark Magician in the hand, so that what you can do is on the opponent's turn, you activate the Magician Navigation, activate the Dark Magic Circle, and banish one of their cards on the field, as well as getting out 2 Dark Magicians or or like an illusion, Magician of Dark Illusion and a Dark Magician or something like that, right? And then you also have Treacherous Trap Hole, which is one of the best trap cards in the game currently, and it's limited to 2, and the fact that they can run it is still what makes them so good, right? If Dark Magicians were ever to get hit, it would be limiting one of the cards to a limit of 2, which would kill the Treacherous Trap Hole variant, which would, I would say, severely nerf it. So, there's that. Since you can also banish the Magician Navigation to get that trap card out of your graveyard to allow for Treacherous Trap Hole to continue. Then you can also Synchro Summon using Night End Sorcerer, which can be special summoned with your Magician Navigation in order to go into any of these lovely level 9 and 5 cards. So there's that, right? No Mortal Can Resist, once again, a very stock standard kind of build skill, I guess. You just, if you're lower than your opponent's life points by 1,000, then turn the entire graveyard, turn all monsters in your opponent's graveyard to Skull Servants, which are basically useless in the grave. So, there you go. Now, moving on, we have Blue Eyes, which is also at tier 2, which, honestly, I don't know if this is the best timeline or the worst timeline, because both Blue Eyes and Dark Magicians are a competitively viable deck. So, that's really exciting if you like those decks. For me, I'm not a fan of either one of them. I'm kind of sad. So, you could say that this is the best timeline. I'm going to say that this is the worst timeline for me. But, here we go. Hopping into this deck. Pretty simple. It's focused around this card, Maiden with Eyes of Blue, as well as this card, Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Not Dragon Spirit of White. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. With these two cards, this deck became insanely good, right? Maiden with Eyes of Blue, what this card does is, if this card is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack, and if you do change the battle position of this card, then special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard onto the field, right? Pretty simple, easy way. You can just Maiden, end turn, and then you have a pretty solid defense there with Maiden, right? Now, during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets this face-up card, you can special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard, right? You can only, unimportant, only used once per turn, but what you do is you can target it with an effect like Sage with Eyes of Blue, activate the effect, activate this one's effect, then you have 2 Blue Eyes out on the field, which is insanely good, and then, you know, you have like Silver's Cry and Divine Wrath and some of these other things in order to facilitate that and just kind of keep your Blue Eyes out on the field. Then if you have any of these level 1 tuners, which all of these are level 1 tuners except for this one and these ones, you can go into any of these level 9s, right? You can go into Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, which is highly recommendable because it's insanely good. You can go into Vermilion Dragon Mech, again, really good. Or you can go into Azure Eyes Silver Dragon, again, really good for this deck, right? Now, would we get into Michael? We only have level 1s and level 8s. That doesn't add up to 7. Well, you could tribute off your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon in order to go into either your Michael or your Azure Eyes, right? Now, what Michael does is you pay 1,000 life points to target a card in the field to banish the target. Pretty self-explanatory. That's all you're going to do with it, right? Or you can go to Azure Eyes Silver Dragon, which, until the end of the next turn, can't be destroyed by card effects and cannot be targeted, right? Now, this card can also target one normal monster in your graveyard to special summon it. So you can return your Blue Eyes from the grave to the field. Insanely good, right? So there you go. Now, Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, I keep saying the wrong thing. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon has another effect, which, once per turn during either player's turn, when effect of a card is activated in the graveyard, in the graveyard is activated, you can negate the activation, right? Boom, either player's turn, negate the activation, and during either player's turn, you contribute this Synchro Summon monster to special summon one light dragon type Synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position that is destroyed during the end phase. Well, that doesn't really matter if you're summoning up your Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. So there you go. Then it's just a bunch of consistency cards and kind of more tech cards. Card of Consonance, discard a dragon type tuner monster with 1,000 or less attack to draw 2 cards. You use that for your White Stone of the Ancients and your White Stone of Legends in order to draw more cards. Mausoleum of White, it's a boost and more consistency. Really good for the deck. Didn't really have a reason to play it previously. Now you do, right? Divine Wrath, Raigeki Break, all tech cards. Wonder Wand is very similar. It's used with your Maiden with Eyes of Blue in order to get her effect to activate, right? Because it does target. So, and then Silver's Cry is just another way to get your Blue Eyes back on to the field. So there you go. Blue Eyes was hugely boosted by this last box, getting both Maiden with Eyes of Blue and Sage with Eyes of Blue, as well as Master with Eyes of Blue, all of which are insanely good cards, and then also getting the Synchro Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. So there are quite a few of these on the ladder, but they're not the best builds, but they're still really good. Look out for those. Now, moving on, we have the last one in our tier 2, which is Black Wings. Black Wings, very simple. Use your Black Whirlwind to search in order to go into your very strong Raikiri, Obsidian Hawkjoe, or Chidori, or really any of these cards. All really strong synchros. It's an OTK deck. It's going to pop your cards, and then it's going to swing in and deal tons of damage. And then it can also negate from the hand with Blackbird Close. So, there's that. It's a very simple deck. Just you're searching with Black Whirlwind, you negating with Blackbird Close, and then you're summoning up your Raikiri to pop cards and your Obsidian to have added protection, right? Again, no mortal can resist. Pretty self-explanatory. I forgot to say, with the Blue Eyes deck, you're running Alternative Evolution for that added card destruction, right? Alternative Evolution is insanely good with Blue Eyes, so that one seemed like pretty simple. So again, no mortal can resist, just like with the Dark Magicians. So, that is all of the tier 2 decks. Honestly, all of them are insanely good. Black Wings have been so good for so long, and I honestly don't expect them seeing another hit unless they are continuing to be insanely strong. However, Element Sabers, still a tier 1 deck, still insanely good. Let's talk about them. Why are they still so good? Well, now we're going to use the skill Destiny Draw. Instead of searching for your Alistair using your Sorcery Conduit, which would only grab up your Alistair, now you can search for any card that you need to complete your combo, right? However, you do need your Mirror Wall to activate, or just to take 2,000 damage, right? Pretty easy. It's a very similar deck to what it was previously, except instead of running Cosmic Cyclone, you are instead running a lot more back row. Basically the exact same deck. You could take out this enemy controller for anything, and then the extra deck's very much the same. The 1 Earth, the 1 Water, the 1 Dark, and then the triple Fire. Just more back row, running the Mirror Wall to pay those 2,000 life points in order to activate your Destiny Draw to grab up your Alistair. Element Sabers, still super consistent. They needed to hit Alistair, and instead they didn't. Don't know why, but they didn't. So there you go. Anyway, moving on. It's still the same deck. Moving on. We have a new addition to the tier list in general, and to specifically tier 1 with Cristrons. Now, This deck you will probably almost never see on the ladder. Why? Because it's a big brain deck that is hard to build, right? You got Sulfaneer from Cybernetic Rebellion. You also have Smiger and stuff like that from Cybernetic. Then you have Spirit of the Beast. You got Thistvern, right? All of these cards are at 3. Kind of difficult to get, right? And Cybernetic Rebellion is kind of an older box, so not a lot of people want to go through it. Then, yeah, most of these other cards are from Cybernetic Rebellion. Yeah. And then you have the Lance, which is from Valhalla's Calling. This card is actually insanely important. Maybe not insanely important, but it is a really important card for this deck. Really, really useful, because you can basically just say, all right, this thing that you were going to do to my card, no. So, but with the nerf to Sealed Tombs, this deck that is very focused on banishing things from the grave and, you know, making a lot of plays from specifically the graveyard, destroying your own cards in order to activate their effects in the grave and stuff like that. With the nerf to Sealed Tombs, it is very, very beneficial, and now you can actually play this deck for real, right? You don't get stopped by a Sealed Tombs. So, what is this card focused, or what is this deck focused on? Well, it focuses on summoning during your opponent's turn using Citri and Rion, the tuners, which basically pull from the graveyard or the banish pile respectively in order to synchro summon on the opponent's turn, right? So, yeah, you can go into Powered Inzectron, a level 6, can't be destroyed the turn it is synchro summoned. Also, you take no battle damage from it. Or you can go into your Amatrix, right? Amatrix is also insanely good. It is a level 5, which when it is synchro summon, change all face-up special summon monsters your opponent controls to defense position. So, really good. Sorry, I'm hitting my cord. And then it can also play Samurai Destroyer really effectively, because when this card is destroyed by when this card is destroyed by a card effect, it can summon up basically any card in this arsenal, because they're almost all machine types. So, there you go. Insanely good deck if you know how to use it. But the main boss monster is Crystron Quarion Gandrix, which what it does is you can target cards your opponent controls, or sorry, monsters your opponent controls, or in their graveyard, and banish them, right? And then, if this Synchro Summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target a banished monster to special summon it onto the field, which you banish a lot of things using their graveyard effect. You can banish them in order to summon up more things. So, really good deck now, because a lot of things are focused on, now that a lot of the other decks that were very oppressive to it have been nerfed. For example, Dark Lords was a huge oppressant of it, as well as things like the Sealed Tombs and other such decks that were just overall really strong. Shiranui, Blackwings, all of them kind of nerfed. This one has risen in popularity because it hasn't been hit by the ban list. It hasn't been touched. It's still really strong. So there you go. That's the top decks. Now, real quick, talking about this in terms of the ladder and what you should expect to see on the ladder. Overall, Crystrons you're probably never going to see. Element Sabers you'll see every once in a while, but not necessarily the Element Sabers of, like this Element Sabers, right, with heavy back row. You're probably just going to see a very, like, these 15 cards, maybe not even that one, these 14 cards with some back row. So there's that. Then you have Blackwings. I do see quite a bit of Blackwings, but not too often. The two that I would say you will see the most are these two with Blue Eyes and Dark Magician. Seeing as how everyone loves Blue Eyes, everyone loves Dark Magician. You either have Blue Eyes or you have Dark Magician. You're one of those people. Most people really enjoy those, right? Then, So those are the two to watch out for and to kind of learn and understand what they do if you want to face them or if you want to play them. And then with the rest of it, Cyber Dragons are pretty popular, Lunalight is pretty popular, and Shiranui is extremely popular, probably the most popular deck. And then Dark Lords and Thunder Dragons are probably down there with Cristrons. Rarely see them ever played. However, they're probably two of my favorite decks currently on the tier list. Obviously, I love myself some Dark Lords, but Thunder Dragons are probably my second favorite. Lunalight also a lot more popping up now, but still probably not the definitive. And then, yeah. And then whatever other decks that might pop up, nothing too really worrisome, right? You might see some Gladiator Beasts as well. They just got some new cards, or some Dragoonity. They've got some new cards. But overall, expect to see a lot of Shiranui. Still very prevalent, because it was from a mini box. Of course, everyone's going to go to that one. A lot of Blue Eyes, a lot of Dark Magician, some Cyber Dragon, some Lunalight, some Black Wings, a fair bit of Element Sabers, and then basically no Cristrons, Dark Lords, or Thunder Dragons. So, there's that. Yeah. Now, I guess that's it. Anyway, that's all that I have for you guys today. If you guys did indeed enjoy, and this helped you guys, just be sure to drop a like down below. And if you want to see more content like this, as well as more to do with Duel Links, just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.